Hey there, guys. Welcome to the TGIF edition of Full Count this week, brought to you by SportsMemo. Guys, NFL, college football, it's in full swing. 27 straight days of football action started yesterday. NHL, NBA getting going, and college basketball kicks off in just a couple of days. But it's also spooky season, guys. And in honor of Halloween, our Sports Memo team over there has come up with another top caliber special running for you guys. Use the code BOO31, BOO31 at checkout. 31% off any and all access packages. You can use it one time over at Sports Memo and once over at Wager Talk as well. Or you can get any of your favorite cappers, guys. $49 for the World Series package, discounted without a promo code. But as you guys know, I'm Jeff Michaels, JM Sports. I'm back in the host chair, and we are talking about an exciting fall classic that gets going tonight. Guys, we got an amazing panel over there for you, full of leaderboard fixtures. Let's bring them out. Dr. Chuck is in the building, as well as the Iceman, Jesse Schule. As always, guys, it's an honor to be joined by the two of you. Exciting time of the year for sports fans, but Jesse, how are you doing recently?
Doing great. I have missed you guys. I guess we haven't done a show together for about a couple of weeks now, but happy to be here to talk about Game 1 of the World Series.
Yeah, it should be an exciting matchup. You know, some people are dread calling the doctor, but I always enjoy having a little house call. Dr. Chuck, how you doing today?
Yeah, the three of us, we got a lot of missing going on here. We gotta stop not doing shows together. This is a good panel. I'm excited to talk World Series. There's a lot of ramifications with this being the last series in baseball before there's a lot of changes. So I'm very, very pumped about this. And there's always this Astros Dusty angle too. So
yeah, we'll see what we're getting into. You know, what a better crew to be here on a Friday, kicking off the World Series. Obviously, I'm a baseball fan, so Guardians may not be in it, but hey, I'm still excited for a World Series. You know, let's dive into game one, guys. I'm going to kick it off. Dan Kaiser said this a time or two, I believe on First Family, as well as on this show yesterday, but it stuck with me. This really seems like a World Series of dynasty versus destiny in a sense. Don't know if you totally consider the Astros a dynasty at this point, but at least in the recent years, this could be the one that pushes them over the limit in the latter 15 years. You got game one, Justin Verlander's on the mound, taking on Aaron Nola, kicking it off tonight in Houston. They're minus 165 favorites, and the total sits at 6.5 right now, which may not be surprising when you look at the names in the pitcher slots, but it is a little surprising with the lineups that we're looking at this year. You know, Philly has the second best batting average in the MLB this season, hitting 237, but they would have to win the series to even reach 100 wins. Houston comes in a 113 win resume on the season, and it was backed by the third best batting average in the league at 227. Astros haven't lost a postseason game, and they're 11-1 in the month of October. But can that continue against a Phillies team that has also been pretty impressive? 9-2 in the postseason thus far. Jesse, why don't you get us started? What are you looking at? Game one breakdown.
Well, I like that you mentioned what Dan Kaiser had to say. The professor certainly has a way with words, if nothing else, and dynasty versus destiny is a pretty accurate way to put it. Houston appears to be the better team. They've got the depth. They've got certainly the star-studded pitching rotation. More depth in the starting pitching and the bullpen. And of course, I mean, everywhere you look with Houston, they've got it all. But the Phillies do appear to be the team of destiny. They're getting the clutch hits. Everybody seems to be clicking at the right time, the chemistry, and they appear to have exactly what it takes to get an upset here. But they really need Wheeler and Nola to get them those wins. And I was a little bit shocked that Wheeler didn't get the game one nod. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. But nonetheless, you got Verlander. Certainly not surprised to see Verlander going in game one. He's had a fantastic season. He's probably going to be the Cy Young winner. And he had one bad start against Seattle. He does have that pretty ominous record in the World Series in his career. I'm not sure if I'm buying too much into that, but it is something to keep an eye on. I really think this is anybody's game, but I'll save the rest for best bets.
Yeah, I found it hard to disagree. You mentioned the pitching. Shocked me. The only pitcher on the entire Houston roster right now that has a postseason ERA over 2.5 this year is Justin Verlander's above 6 ERA that he's got. The entire bullpen has combined for an ERA of under 1.0. Dr. Chuck, I got a couple other things that I was thinking, but let's see what you got on your mind for this first matchup.
Well, right off the bat, Jesse wanted our input on, let's say I love baseball. I'm glad that we love baseball. It's lost. Jeff brought it up. This is a whole month straight where we don't have to skip a day without football. College basketball then comes and takes over. And even the World Series, probably in a college football, NFL, NBA landscape, is fourth, maybe just ahead of like Midnight Madness college basketball. So I think it's a bummer, but I think this is a really excellent matchup. Right off the bat, Jesse wanted input from both of us. I'm sure Jesse this isn't something that anybody would remember, but Aaron Nola's last regular season start was in Minute Maid. He crushed it. His newspaper numbers were phenomenal. He allowed 2 hits and no runs. And I think Rob Thompson is being a little bit swindled by the numbers. I know Jesse and I are both big Zach Wheeler guys. I'm surprised by this too, in the fact that he believed what he last saw. I would be worried about that. I'm assuming it's because he remembers at the beginning of October, they went to Houston in part of their way to clinch a playoff, and he slaughtered this lineup. I don't think that has a lot of credence for today. There are a lot of angles as far as what the Astros do here after a couple of sweeps and the way that they got those sweeps. We got that weird Robbie Ray comes in relief. Scott Service maybe fumbled that one thinking Yordan Alvarez. I don't know how the book's not out that Yordan Alvarez is better against lefties than he is against righties, period. It doesn't matter if you want to Cy Young or not. I still can't believe that. I think Jesse as a Mariners guy, or maybe even just Ron as a Mariners guy, probably still can't believe that that's how this playoff started. But the Astros didn't lose from there. The numbers aren't that great for a team that sweep into this situation. And so I think it's interesting the way the Astros kind of got past the Yankees, that they're this big of a favorite in game one with the momentum. I love that Jesse said the professor has a way with words. This dynasty versus destiny is excellent. I think Joe D'Amico his skin is crawling right now, calling the Astros a dynasty. As a matter of fact, that their one ring is the way they got their ring. I think things have been handled since then. Jose Altuve is still there. I know people hate him, and he kind of righted the ship a little bit in a little bit of a way. Getting on base at all for him in that series was important. I can't find a reason that I would want to lay this in game one, sight unseen, no matter what. There are some angles. I did mention that Aaron Nola is very fadeable because of his last performance, and maybe that's why Verlander is this size favorite, other than the fact that Jesse brought it up. Justin Verlander, there's nothing good about Justin Verlander once you get to the Fall Classic. He gets teams there. It's going to be, as a Reds fan, it's going to be really hard pressed for me to back a team that's this big of a favorite with Justin Verlander on the mound, with Dusty Baker managing the team, and the way that the Phillies have played. You ask me, you're giving me all this money with the Phillies. I would absolutely be Phillies or pass if I had to take a side in this game. It doesn't mean anything to do with the series. And I think there's a lot of good series props out there. Bryce Harper is the odds-on favorite for the MVP. Jordan Alvarez right behind him, obvious. I think that's probably the way to go. Other than last year, you saw, maybe there's a little bit of a trade. I'm sure the Guardians fan in Jeff's a little frustrated at last year's World Series MVP, but maybe Trey Mancini is a guy to look out for. But yeah, I think this is going to come closer to pick'em as the series goes on, and I think this line's a little bit nuts. And if you wanted to delay that, I hope you're laying the run line to at least get some value.
Yeah, it's hard. You figure the Phillies team, though, third in their division coming into this World Series. There were two teams ahead of them in their division. It's looking at the things like that, I guess, looking at the numbers on paper, because as you said, sight unseen. Got real quick, since we do have just one game to talk about. I was on the show yesterday, too, on the other side of this host chair, but we broke down the series a little bit more. One thing that caught my attention, Philly on the year, just one game over 500 on the road, and Houston has dominated at home. So, I'll toss it to both of you guys, but Dr. Chuck, you kind of touched on it. It doesn't say anything. First game doesn't always say everything about the series, but do you think, how much do you think it changes going back into Philadelphia to play?
Yeah, so you brought it up. The Astros have dominated down in Houston. Roof's going to be closed, so all this rain and all this wind is going to be neutralized, which I'm sure is something that both Verlander and Nola, with pretty solid home run to fly ball ratios, I think that might be another thing. It's interesting, depending on how Thompson is going to structure this, where Nola pitches next. But I think that might also play into it, other than the fact that obviously Wheeler will pitch game 2, so I guess they're both pitching in Houston. But I think Houston, with this whole Dusty Baker story and the whole, they haven't won a non-cheating ring and they couldn't handle the Nationals. I mean, we're talking about a team that was last in the World Series against, they couldn't handle the Braves last year, but they couldn't handle the Nationals in the one before that, where they were even heavier favorites. And I think if they can't get to Philadelphia 2-0, and I don't think they will personally, I think if they can't get to Philadelphia 2-0, the pressure, especially, watching Dusty every single day for 10 seasons, I know what that's like on that guy. And, the players are one thing, but I sure wouldn't want to be holding like a series Astros ticket if it's 1-1 going back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, definitely changes it up. But Jesse, what do you think? How much does the site affect the games that we're playing between these two teams in the World Series?
Well, the Phillies have looked fully capable of winning road games. You got those, the pitching matchups in the first two games in Houston are going to be great matchups. I think the Phillies definitely need to win one of those first two games. And I don't think I don't think the home field's going to be that big of a factor, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Phillies played well in the postseason, regardless of the site, and that can't be argued either. Two last things I'll say that definitely caught my attention. Houston this postseason has yet to pitch Jose Urquidy, starter or bullpen. So we'll definitely see a rested arm out of him. And just one team in the history of the MLB since the change in the postseason structure has ever swept all the way through the playoffs back in the 60s. Actually, your Cincinnati Reds, Dr. Chuck, the only team to do it back in the 60s all the way through. So, hey, they're going for it. Doesn't sound like many of us think that they're going to get all the way through a sweep, but hey, it's game 1, sight unseen. We'll see what happens. And guys, I know we just have one game to talk about today that we're really going into, but that's not going to stop us from going through a best bet segment for you today. So we're going to send things over to Dr. Chuck. Dr. Chuck, tell us what you got going on this weekend over on SportsMemo, outside of even the baseball world, and what you got for your best bet in tonight's game 1 action.
Yeah, so quickly, we still have our 5-unit NFL play this weekend. It's up for $2. I know Dion's is still there, as well as Jimmy over at Wager Talk. Also check out his TikToks pretty fantastic there. A beach goer, Jimmy Adams. I like, there's a lot of stuff I like about ways to attack this game. It's not as tight as the NFL is market wise. And even though it is the World Series, there's a lot more liability and things like what happens in big games tomorrow and big games on Sunday. So there's spots to find. With Nola going, Jesse is scratching his head. I'm scratching my head a little bit, but only because I don't buy what he did last time. And that's specifically what I'm doing here. Verlander's always good for a solo shot or two. That's kind of what the Phillies do. That's Schwarber's whole game. He might even be able to take advantage of this on the first pitch of the first at bat of the game tonight in Houston against Verlander. He's going to be looking dead red. He pretty much takes fastballs and deposits them anywhere into the stands. Houston's not that difficult to hit a home run in. Aaron Nola's numbers under the newspaper in that last start. He had a 154 batting average on balls in play. Average there's 300. He left everybody on base. Nobody that got on base scored. He had a 100% left on base rate. And both of those are due for incredible negative regression. We only need it to be 2-2 or 3-1 after 5 full innings here. I think Jesse's going to talk a lot more about why I like the other side to be able to score, not just Schwarber and Hoskins and Harper and all those different guys. But I think Yordan Alvarez could go deep in the first couple innings. Bregman always can. And this is not a lot. This might even just be 4 solo home runs off of these two pitchers, which really won't even be all that bad of an outing in Dusty or Thompson's eyes. And this is a pretty low hanging fruit on a series. Everybody wants to just go under the number of runs for the series. If you're going for a series runs is 41. So everything about this is going to be contrarian, as you can see with the plus money. I think 5 runs in the first 5 innings is where we should be looking at this. And I think this is a lot of value.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of value to be made. Plus money there. We got a couple other plus money best bets going too. And, they all seem to work together too. Jesse, why don't you tell us what you got going on and what you got for your best bet for this evening?
Well, Jeff, I might have to change the promo on my page. I've been running the same promo for a long time now because the year of 2022, I've been getting off to hot starts with, it seems like every sport, NBA, MLB, NBA playoffs, the March Madness tournament. We're talking like 8-0, 9-1, 9-2, something like that. That's how I started every sport in 2022 until now. I've had a really terrible start to NBA and NHL. Of course, we're only a few weeks in, or a week and a half in, so I'm sure that will be corrected. College football is still going strong, almost 80% for the season. I believe I am number 1 at SportsMemo with the college football this year. Not too far back with NFL either, so you're going to want to follow me this weekend with the football. But as far as the baseball and the best bet goes, I'm not a guy that handicaps only on trends and stats. So when I see Verlander's 0-6 career record in the World Series going along with a 5.88 ERA, I don't read too much into that. To me, that's no guarantee that he's going to struggle here. But when I look at this line on over 2.5 earned runs, taking back that nice chunk of plus money, when I view it as at least a 50-50 shot that he gives up 3 runs based on his performance in these playoffs. I mean, we saw him get hammered by Seattle in his first playoff start. He bounced back with a really solid outing against the Yankees, but now he's playing a Phillies team that's really knocking the cover off the ball, like Dr. Chuck said. And he's had a bit of time off to think about it. I'm not sure this is a good spot for a guy that has struggled in this situation in the past. If he doesn't get off to a good start in the first inning, it could be a disaster for him. And like I say, getting the plus money, I'll take over 2.5 earned runs.
I like it. Always a logical explanation. And when you can get plus money, it's always a good opportunity too. Guys, I'm going to close it out. I'm going to give you a plus money best bet, and I'm going to give you another reason to back Dr. Chuck. But first, guys, go check out my football action that we got going on this weekend. 2-0 day in football yesterday. We've been hot through last weekend and hot through both the football seasons. I do already have a 5% best bet loaded for college football action on Saturday, and the rest of the plays in that package will be up by this evening. But as far as my best bet goes for today, guys, I'm looking at the Houston side being able to put up a little bit of work too. I like this rookie, Jeremy Pena, on DraftKings, 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs at plus 110. That's something we could see early out of him too. You know, Dr. Chuck says about Schwarber going deep early. We could see Pena do this early. A 1.5 hits plus runs and RBIs gives you a base hit that somebody drives you in after, or an RBI double gets it done early. In the 7 postseason games that he's played this year, he's hitting 303, 10 hits in 33 at bats, and 3 of those hits were over the fence. He scored 7 runs. He's driven in 5 RBIs. And plus, you go back one more game into the last game of the regular season. Oh, yeah, they played Philly in the last game, and Pena went 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBIs. He's gone over this 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs in 5 of the 7 postseason games, and 8 of the last 11 games going back to the regular season. He's been a noticeably better hitter at home, hitting 262 at home, and 14 of his 22 home runs have come at home, as well as 35 of his 63 RBIs, with a lot of his damage being done against the starting pitchers that they have and that he's up against. So I think this is something that could be done early. I think it's something that could very well be done in the same at bat with 1 hit on an RBI or a hit and one of these other batters that we know can hit the ball on Houston's lineup, driving him in after the fact. So 1 hit, 1 run, or 1 hit, 1 RBI is what I'm looking for, and it is something that can be done early. And hey, a runner and RBI helps that first 5 over, especially with what he's done against starters. And Houston's shown they can fight from behind. So if Verlander gets behind early, Pena could be the one to catch him up without question. And you're getting that plus money. So, guys, that's all we got for you today. Game 1 action tonight's exciting. Game 2 going off this weekend as well, with Game 3 coming back on Halloween night. So we will be back with more action for you guys on Monday, looking at Game 3. But as far as today goes, guys, that's what we got for you from Dr. Chuck, Jesse, and all the guys over at SportsMemo and myself. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your weekend of sports. We'll see you Monday.